All right, welcome everyone to the Solana Community Validator discussion, December 7th, 2023. A lot of announcements in the agenda today, but not too many detailed items, so we'll see how long this takes. Might be a quick one. First, Validator updates. Most of you may have seen the SFDP announcement for the plan changes. It's on the Solana forum. We'll talk about that a bit. Quick update on Discord Validator gated roles. For those who may not remember, this was a project that we talked about a while ago, and there's a Discord channel about it to essentially give validators roles based on their stake. So we'll talk about that a bit. Quick update on validator info and wallets implementing the new validator info standard, and then open discussion if there's any comments or things people want to bring up. So yeah, first off, mainnet updates. So the request went out recently for 5% of stake to upgrade to 117.7. So if you're willing and able, please upgrade to 1.17, but only if 5% of stake has not done so far. So once we get to 5%, please hold off, but that's the request out now. Also, if you have not updated to 116.21, especially if you're a highly staked node, highly encourage operators to do that. There's an issue being debugged right now in the debug leader validator mismatch channel. That's essentially a panic when the validator detects duplicate blocks, but it appears to be an erroneous detection. And 116.21 has more debugging info to help solve that issue.
Does 117.7 have that as well?
I don't know if it has the debugging information. I would assume it does. I'd have to double check though.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. But yeah, I assume if it's backported to 116, it's also backported to 117. So yeah, anyway, please upgrade to 116.21 or 117.7 if you want to join that 5% of stake. Another thing that came up this past week was the event on 12.1 where the network or the cluster experienced slow roots. Right now, there's nothing really new to report. The investigation is ongoing, and the discussion is now happening in debug slow roots 2023 12.01. So if you're curious and you want to follow along, check out there. But hoping to have more information either next call or whenever we have a better idea of what the issue was. Any questions around those two investigations? All right, moving on. For testnet, 117.7 is recommended for testnet. There will be a planned testnet restart sometime next week, most likely. So just be aware if you're a testnet operator that will likely be doing a restart. There'll be an announcement in testnet announcements. I'll also send out an announcement to Foundation announcements for the delegation program. There's an issue currently as well with the stake bot. So if you're a new operator on testnet and you're part of SFDP, just be aware that you might not get staked right away. We're working on it now, and I think we've made some progress, but it's not completely solved yet. So just be aware staking on testnet may take a bit if you're part of the delegation program. All right. Some of you may have seen there was an announcement in the Solana forums about upcoming SFDP changes. Feedback in the forum is welcome and encouraged. So if you have thoughts or just want to give your thumbs up, please check out this forum post. I'll put the link in the chat. Where did I have that? Here we go. And let's see here, some highlights to mention. So yeah, you can read through it for yourself. The main changes and the main things to be aware of is that the new SFDP changes the proposed changes will include vote cost coverage. The vote cost coverage will last for 1 year and will be tapered off. So it won't be 100% coverage for the entire year. It will go down from 100% to 75%, 50%, and then down to 25% per quarter. Another big change is the matching. So any outside stake that you attract to your node, the foundation will match that stake 1-to-1 up to 100,000 SOL. Yeah, and I'll let you read through the rest on your own, but feedback is definitely welcome in the forum, and any comments now are certainly welcome as well. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Hey, do you know how frequent you're going to reimburse the vote costs?
Ideally, it'll be every epoch, but we're still working out the technical details on it.
I like the changes. I think that the vote cost scaling is pretty cool, as I haven't seen that version yet. And yeah, I like the 100,000 matching. I felt like 50,000 might be too easy with the staking pools, and so it's nice to have like a stretch goal, I think, for all the upcoming validators.
Great, awesome. Another comment. I like it too. Yeah, so Tetsu, go ahead.
I'm curious. You meant there's a small bullet item there about performance requirements changing. If there's anything you can, detail about that, I'd like to hear it, because I think there are a lot of things that can be, a lot more metrics you guys could be sort of evaluating your nodes on, and I'd be curious to know if you've thought about any of them.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question, Brian. So I think a good, I guess at first, I'm trying to not change too many things, like when it comes to like the way we're collecting and the way we're looking at data. So we're going to start off with like pretty similar set of performance requirements that we have right now. Some of them might be tightened up, like skip rate and like vote credit performance. But that is something I'd actually be quite interested in meeting with you about. Like, what else might we want to collect? I think the quality of block production is something that like really I've not seen anywhere that's actually looking into that. I think it's hard to gather that data, but if that data was available and we take the time to make it available, I think that'd be a pretty good payoff.
Yeah, I'd be happy to work with you however you want. I don't want to be behind closed doors sort of making decisions about what the foundation should do. So hopefully it can be out in the open. We can talk amongst about that in general, maybe in Discord, about what people think is reasonable. And data gathering is difficult. I've built a bunch of processes over the last 6 months that gather a lot of data, but it's so hard to gather because the pipe is so big coming from the foundation's big table instance that it's not easy for anyone to even verify my numbers, really. So I also, like, I could provide data, but it wouldn't seem right for you guys to rely on my data. You should probably collect it yourself. So I can help you with that too, if there's any kind of my data capture that you could reuse yourselves. Yeah,
and I think as far as data sources go, if it's at least open source and it is repeatable, I think that's like a big, like, probably makes it fine to use sort of external data sources. But I do think, like whatever it is that we use should be verifiable. And if it's not verifiable, I would be hesitant to want to go in that direction, because I want to make sure that people can understand and verify, like, why have they received or not received stake.
And I think it's, for me, it's not just whether it's verifiable, it's whether you can easily explain it too. Like, Zan's come out with a lot of data, and it's like, oh, what does that mean?
Yeah. I think those are important components of like having like good metrics there. So, and that's part of the reason why like to try to simplify this new set of changes. Like, the incentives are changing quite a bit. I wanted to keep the understanding of like the performance requirements the same, but still to be tightening those performance requirements while keeping them, like, the categories the same or similar. And I think skip rate is one that is important. Block production is really important, but I'm aware of the fact that it can be a high variance number, especially across one epoch, especially if you don't have a lot of stake. So that's something that like we're actively working on making that over a long period of time. And so, like, and having like one bad epoch where you miss like your 8 slots, if you're low staked, doesn't like ruin your ability to like get on the leader schedule again. So it's something we're thoughtful about. Like a 5 epoch average is probably a reasonable place to start, but even then, I think that variance can be high. So I want to watch that, and if we need to like do like 5 epochs or the last 500 slots, maybe something like that makes sense. Some of these performance requirements, I think, will evolve over time, even just over the next few months. Ideally, like the SFTP changes can be more incremental going forward instead of like one big sort of big change up front.
So if I can just say one thing, I think that vote credits covers it's sort of like a big umbrella that covers a lot of stuff. Delinquencies, factor in there, generally bad performance, not being able to keep up to the tip, there bad networking. There's so many things covered there that I think that you might focus on at a minimum having that metric be really tight, where it's like, because I've watched this, most validators can stay within 5% of sort of the average easily.
Yeah,
So
and that 5%. Okay, sorry.
I'm sorry, that's okay. Anyone below that's currently already way off the scale. And it's not something you have to like immediately yank all the stake away. You could maybe have some graduated decline and then some graduated increase, because people get really upset when they have their stake yanked away. Although I think maybe they need to realize that if it's only for one epoch and it happens to kind of everyone relatively equally, then it all averages out. But still, it might help to have it ramp down and ramp back up, and make it based on vote credits, which cover a lot. They just cover a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing to tighten, and that's going to be the largest change here. The vote credit performance, like you said, covers a ton delinquencies. So that's something I think 5% was the number we have in mind right now. Open to like discussion, but I also want to see like, is that it's possible that's even too lenient, or maybe like have like a minimum score for like the last epoch, but then like look at a tighter score over multiple epochs. That's probably not going to be live like right out of the gate, but that's something that I want to look to make sure, like if you're getting stake and vote credit like coverage from the foundation, you should be a highly performant validator, and it should be like, and if you're not there, you should be working to get there, like with the rest of the cluster. And ideally, these incentives can also just help bring up the server quality across the cluster.
Also, I mean, it comes to your bottom line. Like you will make, the foundation makes less when the validators perform worse, and those additional earnings that come from better performing validators get plowed back into more stake for everyone. So it just feels like it's even better for itself.
We will be willing to take a little bit of a hit on our staking returns to quickly adapt to like performance changes. Like if someone's, like it's not ideal necessarily to be moving stake around a lot, but with the matching incentive set, we probably will see more being like either unstaked or being activated than before. So a little more stake movement, but I do think that sort of drop in staking efficiency is probably worth making these incentives sort of have a quick turnaround. And then it might even net out positive for the reasons you were talking about, Zen, for just enforcing better performance across the board. Yuri?
Yes, guys. Sorry, maybe I missed this, but do you have already the date when you're going to start these new changes?
Yeah, so not an exact hard date, but the goal is to do late January, early February. We're kind of in the testing phase and kind of be rolling this out to testnet first, making some changes, seeing how that goes, making sure like the fail safes are in place, and then that goal is to sort of launch and go live late Jan, early Feb, and I will absolutely communicate the final performance requirements and update the website and sort of give all the final details to at least 2 weeks before we go live, so everyone can kind of like prepare as needed.
Okay, and my second question, thanks. So right now, like approximately every person who participates in SFDP has like approximately 40K from foundation.
Yep.
And when this feature goes live, do you want to like keep the amount, and instead that amount is going to be decreased when you are matching one-to-one stakes? But will it be like the person, for example, matches 100,000, right?
Mhm.
And then he still has like 30K from foundation because just this amount wasn't properly yet split through the other people.
Okay, I think I understand what you're asking, but if I answer the wrong questions, let me know. So the amount that's going to be kind of split evenly amongst everyone will definitely go down as stakes being matched. Now, if enough people are successful, attract stake throughout the ecosystem, either through stake pools or their own self stake or any other way, like the validators have historically attracted stake, you're basically right. There's not room for everyone to get 100K. While I think it's unlikely that everyone's going to take us up on the offer, this is going to require more work for the validators, hopefully for more reward, but not everyone's going to want to put in that work. So it's yet to be seen how that will balance out. And we will have, if we will maybe change some of these parameters in response to how things are going, but this is our best hypothesis of like an amount and a cap that we think is attainable by a reasonable portion of the validator set, but recognizing some people might drop out. So then at first, when we first launched this, most of the stake they're going to the participants will be like the amount left over, kind of after matching. But then the target goal over time is for that amount that's like split evenly amongst everyone to be about like 5,000 to 10,000 souls. So if there's like, if the split amount is 10,000 or going above 10,000, per validator, then we'll probably look to make some of that soul, put some of that soul into stake pools. If the amount is getting to 5,000 or lower, then we'll look to take some soul out of the stake pools and put it back into the SFTP. And the goal is to keep the SFTP balanced for the amount left over somewhere in that 5,000 to 10,000 range. And then the rest being used for stake matching.
Yes, thank you. Answered the question. Thanks.
Pavel? Your volume's coming in pretty quiet. Yeah, we're not hearing anything.
Yeah, maybe type out the question.
Question about KYC. Can you give us a second chance for those who didn't make it in time for several reasons? We understand that amount of time of streaming, but I just didn't have that. I saw that a lot of people wrong about this.
Well, I honestly, I'm still struggling to hear what you're saying. Is it possible to get closer to your mic? Yeah, I don't think we're able to hear it. I'm sorry, Pavel. If you have your question, you can either post it in the forum or right here, and I can answer it live. But yeah, you might have to use text.
From what I kind of gathered, it sounded like he was asking about re-KYCing and getting a second chance to KYC again if you missed it.
Yes, it is.
I'll have to get you an answer back on that one. There's the re-KYC process is closed. If it's possible for us to manually intervene, but also enough people, we can't manually intervene on all of these. So Tim and I will have to put our heads together on how we want to handle that. But generally, if you've been a part of the program, you've been an earnest participant, I don't really want to penalize people, but at some point we have to obviously we can't manually do everyone, and we have to cut it off at some point. So maybe if you send me a DM on Discord, and it's possible we might be able to help you out, but we also might not be able to.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions about SFTP changes?
All right.
Cool. Thank you, Ben. Moving on. Okay, a few more updates. So the validator gated roles on Discord, which we talked about in a channel quite a while ago. I think John Wong has also been on the community discussion and talked about this. Essentially, it's a tool to take on-chain stake amounts into Discord so that we can reliably create channels of only staked validators in the event of an emergency or a discussion or whatever. It gives us the tooling to make channels where we know that someone is actually an operator. John is working on this. I'm hoping to have a trial run of the tooling sometime within the next month, but still working on specifics. So just a heads up that more will be coming on this. I know there's been a couple questions about updates, so hopefully soon. Any questions on what that is or kind of what I'm talking about there? Nope. All right, one more update here. So I think maybe 2 calls ago, we talked about validator info and the changes that were made. So the docs are here about the new updates to validator info. There's sort of the quick summary is there's a new way of publishing validator info, and dashboard sites as well as wallets need to update. I went on a call with wallets a few weeks back and sort of gave them the info and got some updates on people working on these changes. I know Soulflare is working on it, Phantom and a few others. So hopefully this will be pretty ubiquitous soon. My plan is to follow up in January to make sure that new validator icons show up correctly in wallets as well as dashboards. Any questions on all that? Nope. All right, that's all the updates I've got. Are there any other topics or discussions people want to bring up? Questions?
Just that the Jito airdrop went relatively well.
Yes.
There was the story today was mostly about block saturation. With a lot of people did have trouble getting transactions through in a timely manner, but it was really a story of block saturation and not having high enough priority fees. So it feels like everything worked the way it was supposed to. It's kind of nice.
Brian, did you notice if that the block saturation were these like totals block CU saturation, or was this just breaking into like kind of account write limits?
Yeah, it was overwhelmingly block saturation this time. And I posted the stats in Discord too. People can see it there. But it was literally like 230 or 240,000 transactions that BlockLogic dropped in 2 hours due to block saturation, and only 342 for account saturation. So it was like just almost completely full blocks. So, anyway, that's great. It's great demand for Solana. People are using it.
Awesome to hear.
Yeah.
There's a question in the chat. So I didn't include it in the slides, but a few weeks ago we did a metrics workshop a validator education workshop on metrics. I have the recording. I have not posted it yet. There was a bit of a discussion going on after the event on December 1st, where metrics may or may not have been changing based on the demand during that event. I think we have a solution now, so I'm planning on posting the recording. But I didn't want to post the recording if the way metrics were going to work for the public was going to change. So I think we're pretty set on how it's going to work now, so I'll post the recording today. Cool. All right. Sounds like that's it. Thank you, everyone. We'll have the next call in 2 weeks.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Ben. See you guys later.
Bye.